Good afternoon, everyone. This is Baja Pips, and today's Wednesday, October 30th, 2024. And I'm going to cover some psychology today. I'm going to talk about the optimal mind frame when it comes to trading and how you can create your own mind frame if you are struggling with just daily routine and following a process. This goes into the same topic when it comes to trading psychology, create building trading systems, journaling your trades, back testing. It all kind of aligns with having the optimal trading mind frame. So what that means is that no matter what you're doing, you have a set of rules that back up your reasons for getting into a trade or getting out of a trade or not taking a trade. If you don't have a set of rules to get into a trade, then you're just trading at random. And we all know that what happens when you take trades at random, your results are going to be very random and very unstable. You can have big winners, you can have winners, but overall, you're going to lose your trades in the long run and you're not going to survive nor last long enough. So, when you have an optimal mind frame, it's basically you are reinforcing yourself and telling yourself what needs to happen in order for you to do something. And if something is not following suit with your narrative, then you are not going to do anything. A lot of the times you may watch my live trading videos and you might wonder why I don't take trades when there is a potential setup. You might see me commentate throughout my entire session, but there's very there's specific instances and times where I'm sitting on my hands and I'm not taking a trade and I'm reading price. So what is making me do that? That's my mind frame. That's my mind. That's my brain. And in this video, I'm just going to break down and dissect exactly how I get into this optimal mind frame. And I want to share with you all how you can get into this mind frame yourself. So we're all built differently. And what I mean by that is we all have different backgrounds. We all have come from different roots. You may have a different way of viewing the markets as I do. No one's ever going to view the markets the same exact way. And so the best way to teach someone is to be able to show them how you are doing it, but then you also have to explain to them how they can implement what you're doing in their own fashion. So there is no cookie cutter holy grail system. There is no way to teach someone exactly how to read price action the exact way as the instructor, but there is a way that you can kind of format it where you can get that student, that clientele, that person that is learning from you, that trainee, you can get them to build a framework out of what you are saying and what they understand, kind of like a checklist. So when I'm looking at price, I'm not looking at random guesses. I'm not trying to just guess what is going to happen next. Instead, I'm actually reading what is happening in real time. And then I'm adding variables that I've studied and practiced over and over again that I am familiar with. And these variables that I'm kind of computing in my head is helping me make my next decision. So, in a way, I'm always aiding my decisions based on these variables that I always rehearse. It's just I'm putting myself in a feedback loop. If this happens, I will do this. If that happens, I will do that. If someone's and if something happens that is conflicting with my outcomes, then I'm not going to do anything. And that is how I trade. You're going to see it on all my videos. I'm not physically sitting on my hands, but I am sitting with my hands on the side of the screen and I'm watching price for 1 to 2 hours a day. And I'm literally I have these three main narratives playing out in my head: context, pattern, trigger. They all have to align in order for me to take my trade. If the context is right, but there's no pattern there, I'm not trading. If we have context, the pattern shows up, but my trigger is not ideal, there's conflicting evidence that's telling me to stay out, I will not take a trade. But if all three aligns, I would take a trade. And here's the thing, we don't know our outcome. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about being confident that I know that I'm going to take a trade with the probabilities and the odds in my favor. I gain that confidence because I have this checklist and a feedback loop. I create this checklist and feedback loop through my notes that I make. I make my notes based on my performance in the past, and that is it. So I may take trades today, yesterday, the past week, and I might have an outcome of, half of my trades were winners, half of my trades are losers. I don't know what is valid until I go back into my notes, look at all of my screenshots, and see a common theme. The common theme is going to normally be some sort of outcome. It's going to have wins, it's going to have losses, but I'm going to have specific my losses are pretty much are going to be very common, very similar. I might be taking trades during a counter trend. I might be trying to take trend trades. I might be trying to trade breakouts when the market is not presenting many breakouts for that session. I'm just giving random examples, but there is going to be some sort of anomaly that is happening that is preventing me from winning. Same thing with my winners. I might be looking at my winners and I want to spot a common theme through my notes, my recent notes. So the common theme for winners, I might be taking all good triggers, my patterns are all nice, and everything is aligning because the context is right. So I'm just giving out random examples, but my point is that I have an optimal mind frame based on variables that I've studied in the past that is giving me my feedback. And that feedback loop is giving me that confidence to be able to take trades or not take trades without even having to know the outcome. I'm going to give some examples on this chart in front of us. So right now we see Bitcoin, and we don't know exactly what is going to happen to Bitcoin in the near future because it's not painted yet. We're just looking at a daily chart of Bitcoin. I'm going to clear this chart and just show y'all the chart in its raw form. So reading price action from left to right, I know that price is ranging. Better yet, let me scroll all the way over here so we can have some data that is already marked off. So right now, I don't know what's going to happen next, even though I just scrolled to the left. All I see is that the context is rangy. It's sideways. It's something that you learn along the course. If you've been training with me, you know how to identify trending conditions and you know when a condition is starting to range. This is a range bound market condition. I can just look at it and I know. So the way how I got into identifying this so fast is because I have the optimal mind frame to identify context. I put myself through the practice, the training, the note taking, and I got to the point where this becomes second nature. I can look at a chart screen and I can just identify this is ranging context. So that automatically puts me into the next step. I know it's ranging. I've read the context. Now I may look for my pattern within the context. The pattern that I'm going to look for is reversal patterns because that's all I know. I know that we're not looking for breakouts because the market context is confirming that it is ranging. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for reversals back towards the upper end of this range. In order for me to find those reversals, I need a pattern to get me into the trade. The patterns that I'm trading right now is called the TC, which is a trend continuation. So I'm going to either trade northbound or southbound, depending on where price is going. Right now, when we're looking at the far right side of this chart, we can see that on Monday, August 12th, 2024, price looks like it's trying to gain traction back towards the upper end of this range. I'm going to put a horizontal line down so you can actually see the range that I'm kind of looking at. So we can all be a part of the same context. You see, context can be shared, it can be broken down, and I can show you the exact thing that I'm looking at. And with these tools, I can explain it even deeper and go more in depth and have you understand even further. So right now, you can actually visually start to see the range. You can see the price has been bouncing between highs and lows for the entire duration of this. And we can see it's been doing that since April. So from April to August, we've been in a range. So instead of me looking for sells, I'm looking for buys once I see the sellers get exhausted. That is a part of having my optimal mind frame. It's a part of my trading system. It ties in. It tells me do not look for sells if price is rejecting these lows. Instead, I'm going to look for buys back towards the upper end, and my pattern is going to get me in. The feedback loop is now confirming that the context has rejected these lows of 53,600, and we are now making a possible move towards the north. Now I have other things, other variables that I have marked down that I follow step by step in order to get me into the next sequence. But for right now, just let y'all know, I'm now looking for longs. If I find the setup as the days go on, I'm going to take my trade. As of right now, we can see that I'm sitting on my hands still because my pattern is not there yet. I'm looking for a nice thrust to the upside with a pullback and a trigger. My trigger is going to get me in. That is a part of my optimal mind frame. So the context is right. I'm aligned with the market and what it's currently doing, its current behavior. The pattern is not yet present. So I'm looking for the pattern day by day, bar by bar. And look, there's a nice thrust coming on up right here on the 23rd of August on Friday. So it may not happen right away. It might take some time. That's the market's job, is to build a narrative that's going to get us into the potential trade. So the narrative is just unfolding. My mind frame is keeping me out of these bad trades, holding through chop and a mess, and it's getting me into the trade at the right time. So I don't know what's going to happen yet, but I am following along. My mind frame is confident. It's telling me that I know that it's ranging. I know that we're at the lower end of a range. I know that I'm looking for some potential longs, and I would like to take a target towards a higher end, anywhere around 70,000 if I get my trigger. So the pattern that I'm looking for, remember, I'm looking for a trend continuation north. That is called a TC north on my charts. So I'm going to keep waiting day by day, and it does not happen. And now we are shifting back to the downside. So my mind frame is keeping me from taking any longs, keeping me from losing money. And this is what it does. I'm not taking any trades. I don't have to be a winner. I don't even have to be a net anything. It's just the matter of me following this feedback loop that's going to get me into trades or keep me on the sidelines until we are ready to trade and execute. So there's no execution. Price is bouncing. Do we have anything yet? Not yet, not necessarily. There we go. There's a long right here on the 17th of September. So unfortunately for this chart, these are daily bars. So it's going to take a lot longer for these setups to occur. If this was a 1 minute chart, this would happen within the same session. But because this is a daily chart, we're looking at daily bars. Therefore, it's going to take longer for everything to align. This is swing trading though. So once everything aligns, I have my context. You can see price has once again bounced off of these lows. And we are showing that price is potentially reversing back towards the upside. I'm going to then take my trade because my trigger is now present. That is a third part of my trading process is the trigger. So I look for the context, I evaluate its performance, I evaluate the market behavior, I see what it's doing, I look for my pattern after that, and then my trigger gets me into the trade. So that is my mind frame with my feedback loops reinforcing itself to confirm that I'm now ready to take a trade. I have my offenses, I have my defenses. I know that I risk less than 1% per trade. That is my rules, that is my risk parameters. It's all a part of my optimal mind frame. So I can perform at my best every day. It doesn't matter if it's a winner or loser. What matters is, did I perform well? Did I take the right trades according to my system? Going back in and making refinements, that can wait for after our trading is done. When we're done with our trading for the session, for the week, for the month, we can always go back and we can refine and we can see which rules are good, that's helping us, and which rules are might be hurting us a little bit. That's part of the refinement phase. But this is all part of the performance phase, what I'm showing right now. So my trigger is there. I don't know. All I know is that I'm going for 2-to-1 target. I'm going to trail my stops along the way. We're going to watch and see what happens right now. The next day happens. I'm in the trade, and eventually it does hit my target. So it took a few days for my target to be hit. During the entire 7-day duration, I was in the right optimal mind frame. All I had to do was trail my stops. I'm going to show y'all right now how I would go about trailing my stops. Now, trailing stops are very important in my trading. Moment. Okay. So each day, I have a rule that each day that the market progresses in my favor, I'm going to trail my stop loss so I can collect some sort of profits if it doesn't go in my favor. That is a part of my trading system. That is a part of my optimal mind frame. You're going to hear me reference trading system and optimal mind frame a lot in this video because it's pretty much the same thing. A trading system is your mind. It's all in your head. And so when you're trading, you are trading your system. You're trading what you're seeing. You're not trading what anyone else is telling you. You're not necessarily looking at any indicator that you plot on the chart. You're reading price action, raw price action, pure as it is, purest form you can see. And you are trading based off of these variables. You only get these variables by repetition. You practice over and over again. You take hundreds of samples, create your sample sizes, and you see what works, what doesn't. You trade the same pairs, the same conditions over and over again. That's how you get your feedback loop. That's how you gain your confidence as a trader. So this is very important because you can then continue to build and get better throughout the rest of your journey without the assistance of anyone else. You don't need to rely on any outsourced news. You don't need to rely on any professional trader to tell you what's going to happen next. This is purely your journey, and this is what you are going to do for the rest of your life as a trader. You're going to continue to refine your system, refine your mind. There are practices that I do outside of trading that also help me with my control and my mindset. I do some meditation, um, not all the time, but when I do, kind of reboots my brain because I'm allowing myself to gain control over my thoughts. And meditation is a great practice to do outside of trading. And if you already meditate, you already understand that meditation can help you with your thought process because you need a good thought process in order to succeed in trading. And so I just broke down for you an optimal mind frame. I broke down the framework, I broke down the variables. You can use this as your own template. You can go back to the beginning of this video, just look at my notes that I have below and how I broke down my main core principles that gets me into this optimal mind frame to perform. Performance is what we're doing as traders. We are performers, we perform, and that's that. Just like a golfer, a basketball player, any professional athlete, we are performing in order to score, in order to have a winning outcome. We're going to take losses. We have to prepare for those, but we're also going to have plenty of winners. And we are preparing ourselves to get the odds in our favor no matter what the outcome, the current outcome is. We should be net winners in the longer term. So this is one of many trades that I just showed you. I'm going to repeat the same process for the next trade and the next trade until I have losses. I will have a process for how to handle losses, but I'm not going to break it down in this video. But long story short, keep it simple, sweet. When you do occur, a loss does occur, you cut it short, you identify the reasons why the loss happened, and you take those notes. And once again, you build a portfolio of a bunch of notes where you can then see some sort of common theme that you can pick out, and you can then apply that to your optimal mind frame. So you know, I took this loss maybe because such and such happened. I don't want to give too many examples, confuse you all, but you're going to notice some sort of common theme that you're going to be able to add. That is your edge. And that is trading one-on-one. You're putting yourself into an optimal mind frame. I hope y'all understand. Once again, I'll read this through. I was looking for context. I know that the market was ranging. I was looking for reversals off the bottom of the range. That is context. My pattern is my trend continuation. If it was coming down from the upper end of the range, I'd be looking for a trend continuation sell, and I would be looking for shorts. But instead, we were getting a reversal from about the lower end of the range. So I was looking for longs. It may not happen right away, but eventually your setup might show up like mine did. And it's going to show up at a random time. We don't know when it will show up, but we are prepared to perform because our checklist, our mental checklist, gets us ready for that trade. There is no additional research to do outside of it. Once your trade setup occurs, all your variables align, you have your checklist. That's all it takes. Take the trade. It could be a winner, it could be a loser, but your losses are always cut. Your losses are always capped at maximum loss limit. And therefore, you're able to trade without worrying, without much hesitation, because you know the maximum amount that you're willing to lose on every trade. That is also part of mindset. That gets you out of that fear of losing too much. Way too many times I see traders overtrade, over leverage, and they blow up their account in a few trades because they're trading too big of a position size, because they are expecting their trades to be winners and they are not trading properly. They're gambling. Get out of that gambling mindset. Just know that you have less than a 50% win rate until you are great at trading, which takes many years. So just stick with that. You know that you are going to be an average trader for the next few years, but it doesn't take much for the average trader to make money in the markets. It takes a good mind frame, good performance, and a good reward to risk ratio. So off every trade, if you are winning at least 1.5 to 2 times what you risked, you can lose 50% of your trade and still be a net winner, because your winners are always going to be larger than your losses. You're going to refine your system over time so you can become a better winner, and your losses are going to become smaller over time. This is trading. It's just taking it day by day, having a day by day approach, and being able to implement what you've learned the previous day or week or month and making yourself better. So take your time when it comes to trading. Have an optimal mind frame. Have a trading system. Be prepared for losses. They are inevitable, but also be prepared for winners and stack up on your winners. Cut your losses short and take notes. Take plenty of notes. Also remember context, pattern, trigger. That's going to be the sequence. That's going to be your template for your optimal mindset, is to remember to identify context first. Then you're going to look for your pattern, and then you're going to use your trigger to get you into the trade. So that is my template for you. That's the optimal mindset framework. This is just a video on optimal mind frame. And that's it, y'all. If you have any comments or questions, leave it in the comments below. And I hope y'all have a great week trading.